Today on Locked On Canadiens, could Mike Matheson be on his way out of Montreal?
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to episode 1198. You heard that right, of Locked On Canadiens. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. My name is Laura Sab, also known as the Active Stick, and I'm joined by the wonderful Ian Boisvert, also known as the 3-on-3 overtime hater.
I'll wear that. That's fine.
You'll wear that? All right. And that actually ties into what we're going to talk about in today's episode. All right. So a listener asked us a little bit about that. So we're going to get into that. And then we have some juicy rumors for our second segment for Rumour Roundup, which is back. It's one of our favorite segments. And then we will have some thoughts on the 4 Nations Faceoff rosters that are being made available at the time that we are recording this. All right, so you might get a real-time reaction from us a little bit later on this episode. Ian, how are you today, and are you ready to get into our 3-on-3 overtime feelings?
I will, and I will mention Steve Easter by name. They were in our comments. I do want to read another one from Steve Easter. He says, I take offense to the opening statement in every episode. I'm on the West Coast, and you guys are my last listen of the day. So that's just as good, if not better, because we post these very late over here, which means you're still hanging out with us over on the West Coast. So that's always appreciated. But Steve Easter said, Ian, 3-on-3 is bad. What do you prefer then? Don't leave such a statement without explanation. And I agree with you. So here's my explanation. 3-on-3 in regular hockey that gets played from the start of the first period to the end of the third period is possible. You can experience that. It is, however, one of the most rare things you can see in an NHL, regulation time game. You just don't. Sometimes you see a 5-on-3, even rarer, you see a 4-on-3, and then at the very end of that is a 3-on-3. You just don't see them. So I was thinking about ways that the overtime procedure could more match what we see in an NHL, a regular NHL occurrence, while also still providing quicker closure to a game. And one of the things I was kind of driven by was the NCAA football overtime rules. For those who aren't familiar, in college football now, once you go past regulation time, they do a coin toss. The winner gets to choose if they want the ball or if they want to defer. And then they get the ball on their opponent's 25. And they essentially have to score a touchdown. That's you're shortening the field. You're trying to move them quickly in that direction. If they score a touchdown and they kick an extra point, it then goes to the other team who can then score a touchdown. And then if they want, they can go for 2 and they can try to win it. But if you don't get that, you lose. And then after that, they force them to go for 2. You can't just kick the extra point. So that got me thinking about how maybe there's a way that we can incorporate power plays into the way that games are decided, where now, instead of the home team getting to pick who shoots first in the shootout, the home team gets to decide, do I want to have the power play first for 2 minutes, or do I want a penalty kill first for 2 minutes? So essentially, whoever's killing the penalty first, they get to throw whoever they want in the penalty box. After 2 minutes, if they haven't scored, it then goes to the other team, and they can win it with a goal. You just trade power plays. After 2 minutes, the whistle's blown and it stops. Shorthanded goal wins the game. If you score a shorthanded goal in overtime in this format, you deserve to win the hockey game. If that doesn't work, you go to 5-on-3s. I would imagine that by then, 2 sets of power plays and 2 sets of 5-on-3s, we'd probably have a solution. It probably would take a little bit longer than 3-on-3, but I don't think that I think that this more along the line matches what hockey should feel like. I don't know. I will preface this by saying it's never going to happen, but I would also like to add that at least it's something creative.
Yeah.
Instead of the only solutions the NHL has had for overtime since they've had it has been to take guys off the ice. That's the only thing they've added.
So you're giving them that. You're giving them taking a guy off the ice. Okay. So like, I'm just going to try, because I was trying to write down what you were talking about when you were talking about football. And I was like, all right, let's do a scenario. All right. So yesterday's game against the New York Islanders, right? They go into overtime, right? So who gets to decide what they do first? It's the Montreal Canadiens, right?
Montreal, they would be like, I want our power play out there first.
Okay.
So the Islanders take somebody and put them in the box. And Montreal,
but the Islanders don't choose. Montreal chooses.
No, the Islanders can put whoever they want in the box. I don't think it matters, because at the end of the 2 minutes in this scenario, the play is ending. They're not coming out of the box, and we're not playing 5-on-5. We're not getting that breakaway out of the box. So like, it doesn't matter, but it's just somebody you're deciding is not available to kill the penalty for you.
Okay.
So you have to kind of choose somebody that is the middle of your lineup, right? Because one thing about 3-on-3, not everybody plays. David Savard's not playing 3-on-3. You know where he is playing? It's a penalty kill.
Like a penalty
right?
kill, right?
Arbor Xhekaj's not playing 3-on-3, but he's playing the penalty kill. So like, it gets more of your roster involved.
Right. And you don't overthink it, because the last time we were talking about this, you were talking about overcoaching with the 3 players that you're selecting put on the ice. So then in this case, like let's say then next the Islanders the Islanders have to then be on the power play. If Montreal does not score, the Islanders have to be on the power play for 2 minutes, right?
Yeah. Well, even if Montreal scores on that power play, the Islanders still get a chance to match.
Okay, so that's the part I was missing. I thought it was sudden death.
No, so it'll go like that. Now, I think one of the really interesting parts would be, okay, Montreal scores on that power play. The Islanders are out there for a minute, and they know they need a goal. Are they pulling the goalie? Are they pulling the goalie for the extra attacker to go 6-on-4? That's way more interesting than any 3-on-3 game you've seen in 4 years. Just that one concept is way more fun to me, and way more like actual hockey. That's a thing we see, is them pull the goalie for the extra attacker.
Somebody call the board of governors.
I think it's a good idea that'll never happen, and it makes me sad.
Well, we can just keep talking about it until it catches on. But no, I think it's a very creative idea, and it does exist in some format in some professional sport around the world, right? So you can kind of draw from that. But I think it's really, really, like, what it does is it solves the problem of the 3-on-3 overtime just being it takes a lot of the strategy out of the game, but it also takes the fun out of the game, right?
Yeah.
So you're not really watching hockey. Hockey.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said hockey.
Yeah, no, it is hockey. It's something else now. We've created a different game. 3-on-3 is now hockey, not hockey. You heard it from Laura.
But it's not hockey you're watching. You're literally just watching 3 guys either try to survive a barrage, or you're watching 3 guys trying not to make a mistake. That's the thing.
Yeah. At the very least, we need a backcourt violation. We need a decision. We need a rule that says if you enter the zone with possession, you are not allowed to exit the zone with possession. Because what happens is guys are getting the zone, floating around, deciding they don't like the look. We're going to go back to center. We're going to go back. It sucks. It's not fun. It's not fun anymore. You know what would be more fun? If they have to hold that line like their life depends on it. If they have to hold that line because the alternative is a face-off in front of their goalie.
Yeah.
There are solutions out there. The NHL is not creative enough to use them. You know who is? The PWHL. They're going to do this. They've already done it kind of with the jailbreak, which is the coolest rule in hockey, which for those who might not be aware, if you score a shorthanded goal, your player comes out of the penalty box. That's a real ball don't lie moment. We've talked about that a bunch on this show. That's a ball don't lie moment. So that's my idea for 3-on-3. I understand that it's probably not popular, but I like it. And if you have different ideas, put them in the comments. I think it's interesting to hear what other people value in hockey, what they want to see more of. I've always been drawn to special teams because they're big. They are, inflection points in a game, right? That it's a moment where you get to draw up a play. You have a perfect opportunity. Like, those clutch moments matter to me. But maybe there's some other solutions out there, but the way that it's currently built sucks. It's no longer fun. There's nothing fun about it anymore. 1 out of every 20 of them is kind of cool, but they're just, I'm over it. I'd rather see the shootout, and that makes me sick to say out loud. I don't like that.
And just a reminder that this is coming after the Canadiens have won their last 2 overtime games.
Yes.
So.
It's not sour grapes.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's really
I just
not.
don't like it.
All right. It is a segment that you wait for all week. It is also one of the segments we wait for all week. But before we get to that, I will remind everyone that tomorrow is our mailbag episode. And a reminder that last week and earlier this week, we asked for your honest opinions on Martin St. Louis. So we are going to talk a little bit about that. So if you still have not weighed in, do you think Martin St. Louis is a good coach, a bad coach with a good coach with a bad roster? An amazing coach, a terrible coach, whatever it is, let us know. And you can tell us in the comments. You can tell us all over social media or Gmail. Everywhere we are Locked On Canadiens now. And so we are going to get into our rumor roundup. There are a couple of really juicy ones, including one involving Kirby Dach. And that's coming in just one moment here on Locked On Canadiens. You've heard us talk about FanDuel a lot, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's America's #1 sportsbook for good reason. The app is so easy to use, and it should be your one-stop shop for all things to place live bets on sports. Because like I said, it is truly one of the easiest things to use. And also right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. I'm going to tell you again that you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, the hat is on, and that can only mean one thing. The hat is also on mute.
It is on mute, but I caught it before you said it, actually. I realized that you couldn't hear me at all, but that's fine.
Ian, the people have also demanded the giant hat one day.
Yes, the giant. I will break the giant. I think the giant hat will come out for a 5-alarm fire yeehaw rumor. I think that's when the giant hat needs to come out. So these are tiny rumors, so you get a tinier hat. Yeah, the hat will. If you see me with a big yellow hat, you know it's about to go off. You know that the craziest rumor you've ever heard in your life is coming out. So that's what we're gonna do with that. But for the uninitiated. This is the dumbest bit that we do, but it's my favorite one, if I can be honest. We go through trade rumors every once in a while. Not always trade rumors, just kind of player movement rumors. We then rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 yeehaws by realism, how realistic we think they are, and by entertainment, how fun they are. We start not with a trade rumor. We will start with a rumor of a prospect, which is one Jacob Fowler. Matthias Brunet of BPM says that the Canadiens will do everything in their power to get Fowler out of the NCAA once his season with Boston College is over. Fowler is lighting it up in the NCAA. He is having an incredible season. I think he was named the goalie of the week yet again. He's just kind of unbeatable right now for Boston College, and it's led a lot of people to believe potentially that he has nothing more to gain from playing down there. Before we dive into the rumor aspect of this, do you think there's any truth to that? Do you think a goalie can play so well at the NCAA level in just I think it's just his second season there he's done with it?
No. Nope.
Yeah.
No, goalie curves. Goalie curves are long. I'm trying to speed through this episode for personal reasons, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm just combining words. So I'm just going to calm down. Goalie curves are long. Goalie development takes a long time. It's non-linear. And if you rush a guy who's stellar in the NCAA into the AHL or the NHL, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get a Caden Primo is what you're going to get. And Caden Primo pretty much dominated at every level except in the NHL. He's a sieve. So you don't want to do that. You do not want to do that to a prospect as promising as Jacob Fowler. You need this guy to play as much as possible, and you need him to play as many scenarios as possible. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with leaving him in the NCAA before bringing him up to the AHL next year. I don't think that it's, I think it's possible, but we talk a lot about how young certain goalies are when they make the NHL and then they tear it up. That's great. I just think that there's a huge cautionary tale literally on this roster right now. So unless the Canadiens think that their development of goalies is better now, and that he's going to gain something from being in the Habs system, I think you leave him there.
Has the Caden Primo experience maybe forced the Canadiens to consider bringing Fowler up sooner because of how poor Primo's played? Maybe they thought we have another year or two.
Yeah.
Because Primo can hold down the fort. Like,
And
has that sped up their time? Like, I don't know. We don't know this for sure, but is that logic sound?
It does make sense. It makes absolute sense to me because you wouldn't be bringing Jacob Fowler up. You would be bringing Dobish up. And you would be putting Jacob Fowler in the AHL, right? And so, like, for me, it's interesting that this could be the catalyst for this rumor, but it's also the cautionary tale. And I don't know what the right answer is because sometimes goalies are just voodoo. But I do feel that if they're trying to get him out of the NCAA, like, I do think that it's still going to be a long development curve for him.
I agree. All right, let's give it some yeehaws. Realism. What do you got?
Realism, I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5.
That's right where I've got it. I don't really know if the Canadiens are thinking this way, but there are reasons for it. There are reasons against it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the source is not unreliable.
Sure. Entertainment. I'll punch this up to a 3.5. It's one of the most highly touted prospects in the organization.
It would be fun.
It's got some juice to it. That's got some juice to that rumor. So that's a fun one. All right, moving on. We are heading to Elliot Friedman, who on the 32 Thoughts podcast kind of spoke about how the Pittsburgh Penguins, not that they are interested in Kirby Dach, but that is a player you would think they would be interested in. He says, obviously Montreal's got a lot of young players with more to come. And, I'm sitting here and thinking, okay, who else could Pittsburgh target? I'm not saying that they're talking to Montreal or anything like that, but he mentions a Kirby Dach being that kind of guy. Let's start with the Montreal part of this. They're not considering moving him at this point, right?
I don't think so, no. I think, like, it's also that Kyle Dubas has been here a lot, right? Scouting for the Four Nations Cup. Yeah. And so I think that does have some truth to it. You're also kind of looking at the fact that the top two centers in the Penguin system are getting closer and closer to retirement. But so there is some aspect of this could make sense, but I don't think that Montreal is willing to part with Kirby Dach just yet. I don't think that experiment is over. I think there's a lot of investment in that player, and I think that they're going to give him time to get back to it before giving up on him.
I'm so glad you said the word investment because that's what I'm thinking too. They've already invested so much time and effort into developing this player. It's not that it's a sunk cost at this point, but they have no reason to do that right now. There may come a time when they realize, okay, he's not going to be a second line center. We need to find somebody who can do that, but I don't think we're at that point yet. All right, yeehaws, because we got to move on. Realism.
Like 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Entertainment, 2, because it's a big name. That's about as far as I'll go.
Yeah, same.
All right, last one. We have to hustle through this one. Mike Matheson debuted at the 9 spot on Daily Faceoff's trade board. The Canadiens don't really want to move Matheson, according to Frank Saravalli, but they may not be given a choice, given that his value will be arguably its highest before this deadline. What are you thinking there? Do you think that there's a legitimate shot he gets traded this year?
I think there's always a shot that he gets traded, but my question is the same as it was last night. You move Mike Matheson out of this lineup, you better have somebody ready to take his place with that assignment. Yep. And so I think it's possible that between now and the end of February, the Canadiens maybe change their minds, right? Like we're still talking, like we've got most of December left, January and February. There might be somebody who emerges. And with the full acknowledgement that when you're doing that, you're still pushing the team back a little bit, because that person is going to come in with no experience or very little experience and try to take on these assignments. So I think it's entirely possible. I think also, like, Frank Saravalli is pretty well connected, but the way that he's phrasing that means that he might have heard from somebody who's interested in Mike Matheson and
Yep.
not the Canadiens.
Exactly what I'm thinking. The phrasing was the Canadiens don't want to move him, which we've heard 1,000 times. We heard it about Arturi Lehkonen. I believe we heard it about Ben Sherratt, and that was kind of unbelievable, to be honest.
I think that was marketing.
Yeah, we've heard it about Josh Anderson, but I mean, that actually worked because he's still here. But from a realism perspective, I'd probably give it like a 3.5 or 4.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, it's pretty realistic that they're coming up on time for Mike Matheson.
Mhm.
From an entertainment perspective, a Mike Matheson trade would be just a barn burner on the internet.
It would be like 25 out of 5.
It would be 1,800 fireworks going off at the same time.
It would be like
just people
all
who
the
love
emails.
him, people who love him being like, "You guys are making a mistake," and everybody else like dancing in the street that he's gone. Like the dichotomy there will be fun to watch unfold.
Yes.
But I will miss him. I will miss Mike Matheson if he goes. So I'm hoping that this isn't true, but
Absolutely
it's a
same.
numbers game.
But yes. All right. So that was our rumor roundup for today. Up next, we're going to talk about the Four Nations Faceoff. The rosters are out. And also, we've got a doozy of a trivia question, and that's coming up in just one moment. That was a costume change to rival SNL.
I mean, we do what
fast.
we can around here. The effort I put in behind the scenes is just as much as you guys see on camera. So,
It's
you're only getting that here every day.
All right. What we are also getting today is the Four Nations roster. So we are currently recording this as the US and Canada ones come out. But earlier today, we found out the rosters for Sweden and Finland. We've got 2 Montreal Canadiens on the Finland roster.
Yes, Yoel Armia, who I wouldn't call a surprise. He's a very steady kind of player that I think Team Canada and Team USA are trying to emulate, probably with a little bit more skill, but they're looking for a guy like him.
Yeah.
Right? Someone plays lower in the lineup, penalty kills, you can trust out there. So maybe not surprising, but it is super funny to just see Yoel Armia come up on an international roster when there's only 4 of these teams and he happened to make this one. But it's great. I honestly can't wait to watch that team, not only for him, but Patty Laine makes the roster. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that should be considered a surprise, but considering he hadn't played at all for the last year, he plays 1 game and the next day he's on the roster for an international tournament in a few months.
Team Finland was calling Kent Hughes up every single day.
Yeah, they must be pretty certain of the player that they're getting. And he's played a bunch internationally for Finland, so it makes sense.
He's one of the most skilled Finnish players.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
It wouldn't make sense to leave him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, former Canadian Arturi Lehkonen is on the roster. And my favorite fact about Arturi Lehkonen is that when he was growing up or when he was a teenager, he had a picture of Yoel Armia. A poster of Yoel Armia.
Yeah, and to stoke the flames a little bit more, someone else who played in the same town as Yoel Armia, Jesperi Kotkaniemi did not make the team. I think he's got 13 points this year. Not to say that he should have, or that it's a slight on him that he didn't make it, but it is interesting that the offer sheet and all of that behind us, and he's still not considered one of the best down the middle in his own country. It's kind of people don't like to throw out the fact that he's been a disappointment because they think it's unfair. He was picked 3rd overall. He's been a disappointment. It's okay to say that. Yeah,
absolutely. Or he could turn it around, but at this point, until this point in his career, it's a disappointment. So what I did like about Finland's roster is that it's very complete. I also think Sweden's roster, to me, given the decisions that Canada and the US are making, I think Sweden is the most solid one. If even Finland picked Ristolainen. So everybody's making mistakes around here. All right.
You want to do Team USA? Because as we are recording this, it has been released.
Let's do Team USA first.
There is no Cole Caulfield on Team USA. The NHL's third leading goal scorer has been left off of the roster. Can I read you the forwards that are going in his place?
Yes, please.
Matt Boldy, that's fine. He's good. Kyle Connor, yeah, he rules. He's having an incredible season. Jack Eichel, duh. Jake Gensel, yep. Jack Hughes, of course. Chris Kreider, okay.
Boo.
I get it. I mean, the guy can't fall into an assist this year, but that's fine. I thought we weren't just picking guys because of goals, because if that was the case, you'd have Cole Caulfield and not Kreider. Anyway, Austin Matthews, of course. JT Miller, yep. Brock Nelson, okay. Brady Tkachuk, duh. Matthew Tkachuk, duh. Vincent Trocheck, huh?
Yeah.
Vincent Trocheck is more valuable to you on this team than Cole Caulfield. That is the kind of decision that a team makes where I hope you lose. And I hope that when it happens, Cole Caulfield recreates the Phil Kessel tweet. He's like, I feel like there's something I should have been doing tonight. Anyway, and then just a picture of him and his dog or something.
What was it? Olive Pawfield?
Yeah, Olive Pawfield. Yeah, he'll be spending time with his dog. Better, honestly, time well spent, considering he could have been playing for this disaster of a team. And it's not a disaster. It's a good roster.
Okay.
But they could have
been. There's
great.
Another glaring omission, right? Did Tage Thompson make it?
Tage Thompson did not make it.
There you go.
That's fascinating. I hadn't even considered that. That is a big one. Yeah, no, he didn't make. I think he's been hurt. But even so, they just put Patty Laine on the Finnish roster. You can put a hurt player on there. Now they can make changes later on if a guy gets hurt and needs to get pulled from the roster. They can add to it.
Yeah.
So if somebody gets hurt, I would imagine Cole Caulfield is on a short list of guys. Yeah, I mean, he's always on the short list. That's probably why he didn't make the team. It's a size joke. You understand, because he's small. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, it seems like these international teams, they're put together by guys who do nothing but get in their own way.
Yeah.
I mean, like at the last World Cup, Justin Abdelkader was picked over Phil Kessel. Like that should have been we can't make this mistake again sort of thing. And I don't think that Vinny Trocheck for Caulfield is that level of a mistake, but it's the same flavor.
Yeah.
It's the same idea.
The same kind of guy that you're leaving out and the same kind of guy that you're putting in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. It just seems like they can't get out of their own way. They love it. We don't know Canada's roster as of right now. However, there's been a lot of noise coming out that Samuel Montembeault has made it. So as you are listening to this, you've probably learned that he did in fact make the team. Do you think he's the starter on that team?
No.
Yeah.
No, I think he's goalie number 3 based on who they picked, based on, nobody looks at Montreal for since Carey Price is gone, everybody just assumes everyone's looking for the next one. So Binnington has kind of the inside track, I think. And then Aiden Hill.
Have you also considered, though, that Jordan Binnington likes to fill his diaper on a moment's notice, and they might need a grown-up to come in and play net? Yeah. I think that's if Binnington goes out there in the first game and is just a tire fire, that might force their hand. I don't think any one of those goalies has the edge. I think they're all going into it as we need the guy whoever looks the best in the warm-up practices, you're playing in the games.
They look at the last 10 games of each goalie, and they're like, all right, you're going in.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still funny. It's still like a tryout for them, right? There's time between now and the tournament starting. That's still sort of a tryout for those goalies, which is definitely interesting. But yeah, Canada's certainly hurting for goaltenders. We're assuming, because we haven't heard anything to the contrary, that Nick Suzuki did not make Team Canada.
Correct.
Let's pretend that he didn't from this perspective. How does that make you feel?
I'm not surprised, but I do think it is a little bit disappointing. Just because if other teams are taking guys who are two-way players and not just the flashiest forwards, I do think he should be there. He should be there as at least the 13th forward, which is interesting because we were talking about how he has the 13 among all Team Canada forwards, or among all Canadian forwards. He's the 13th in scoring. And so I just don't think that people outside of this market understand his value. And it's really funny because we spent a month criticizing him, got called on it. But listen, we as a fan base, we can criticize Nick Suzuki, but all of you external people need to give him his due, because I promise you, as disappointed as we can be, or as critical as we can be of Nick Suzuki, it's like the amount pales in comparison to the amount people misunderstand or underestimate him outside of this market.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And when he's playing on a line with Cole Caulfield and potentially soon Ivan Demidov, those point totals will go up and people will start to understand the kind of player that he really is. All right, we have to get to trivia. I hate to leave that where it is. We will have lots of time between now and the Four Nations tournament to poke fun at the rosters.
If Nick Suzuki makes it, you can all yell at us in the comments. That's fine.
Yeah, for sure. We will wear that one. That's showbiz, baby. Sometimes you just get news broken in the middle of your show. This is what happens. All right. Question from yesterday. Who had the Habs' last overtime winner against the New York Islanders? Laura, I told you the answer. Do you remember who it was?
Yes, I do. It was really funny. It was Mike Matheson.
Mike Matheson. This show is becoming Locked On Mike Matheson. February 11th, 2023. I thought it was further ago. I was at a game a long time ago where Max Pacioretty scored the overtime winner against the Islanders, but it was not that one. All right. We have a humdinger of a question for you guys today. As we're recording this, it's December 4th, which is, of course, the Montreal Canadiens' birthday. They celebrated their centennial on December 4th, 2009, which someone on the show was at, and someone else watched from their house in Connecticut. I'll let you guys figure out who was who. In that game, or before that game, I should say, Ryan O'Byrne became the last Montreal Canadien to wear the number 3. Montreal retired it for Emile Bouchard, and O'Byrne removed the number 3 jersey on the ice to reveal a number 20 below it. It was a very touching gesture, one of the cooler moments of the last, little while for the Montreal Canadiens. He has goals as wearing both 3 and 20 for the Montreal Canadiens, but one player had assists on both his first goal wearing 3 and his first goal wearing 20. Who was that player? I could not believe this, that something that serendipitous would happen. It was so funny. So Ryan O'Byrne, he had 2 goals, one as his first wearing number 3, and one his first wearing the number 20. One Montreal Canadian had assists on both of those goals. If you put it down in the comments, if you get it right, we will pin you. We will shout you out on the show. I do need to shout out the person who got the answer right to the Mike Matheson question. That was, now I'm losing it. Dang it, YouTube messed this up. I'm so sorry. We're going to miss it on that one. We'll get you on the next one, I promise.
Yes.
But yeah, put it down. I did pin you, so you're on the YouTube comment. But yep, if you put it in the comments, we'll pin whoever gets it right, and hopefully remember your name on the show. Sorry about that.
I think it's just the way it looks. I tried to look as well. All right. And I just want to tell everybody that I've been trying to workshop a Ryan O'Byrne question for 2 weeks, and then my co-host did it in like 10 minutes. So this is how it works here on this show. All right, thank you everybody for listening once again. You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends. We are free and available every single weekday talking about your Montreal Canadiens, and you'll find us anywhere, literally anywhere. All over social media, we're at Locked On Canadiens. We are no longer, we're technically on Twitter, but we're not active there. We've migrated over to Blue Sky. You'll find us at Locked On Canadiens on Blue Sky. We've also set up a TikTok Locked On Canadiens. We've set up an Instagram Locked On Canadiens. Our Gmail is Locked On Canadiens. Don't forget, mailbag is tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, you'll find us also. My co-host is at Maybe It's Ian. I'm at The Active Stick. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you tomorrow.